Yo, YouTube, what up? What up? What up? What up? So, I was doing the ISEE SHSAT problems for a while. That just ended, and I was just sitting here this morning thinking, what should I do? Should I do another lightning round? Should I do a specific? And I realized the test is coming up in 50 something days. So what we're gonna do is just jump into a previous SHSAT using the 2017 sample, and we're gonna attempt to go cover to cover. Not today. Problems take a long time to go through, and when you're doing this kind of stuff online, or even when you're tutoring one-to-one, things go an awful lot slower than people think. It's easy to think, oh, in an hour we can bang out 50 questions, but that's you doing it in your head and answering it. When you have to give explanations and yada yada, it can get really further along. All right, so most likely this YouTube is going to crash at some point. And this is probably going to be 20 or 30 parts when all is said and done. It's probably going to take a few weeks for me to do this. So again, I'm using the 2017 SHSAT handbook, which is not available online anymore. So if anybody needs a copy, you can email me. The one reason, because on top of this, a lot of you guys have been begging me to do grade 9 stuff and ELA stuff. And I can't figure out a good way to do it online like this. So what we're just going to do is painfully go through some of it, and whatever can creep out of some of it, you can. The main obstacle is presenting the passage on the screen. Sometimes it doesn't even fit, but when it does, you guys have to read it. You have to be able to read it to answer the questions. And if the passage barely fits on the screen, then I can't show you the questions on the same screen. In a few rare cases, that's the case. And basically, that's the top problem. There's a few other idiosyncrasies that creep up too, trying to do this live like this. And if everybody had two screens, even if you had a whiteboard or something, it becomes hard. So at certain points, I'm going to assume you did a screen capture, or you have an electronic copy of the handbook. Again, I can send it to anybody who needs it. And we can work from there. On the other hand, I want you guys to focus on what I'm saying as much as what you're seeing on the screen, because hopefully I drop a lot of insights and tips and things like that into all these kind of problems, all right? So again, I'm using a SHSAT from 2 years ago, so it's not exactly split up the same way the SHSAT is now, but I like to work with the premise that the underlying math and the underlying English is still the same, okay? They're still testing you up to grade 8 and up to grade 9, respectively, on the different SHSATs, plus how creative you can use. And I'm going to put the word creative in quotes because it's not exactly defined. I think that the handbook, the deepest the handbook goes into it is to say it's based on grade 7 and 8, which isn't exactly true. And in terms of the character of the test, it says something like novel situations, okay, which is all true, but it doesn't really get deep enough, because when you go through these problems, some of them can really slap you in the face. Somebody yesterday was asking me whether students find the ELA or the math harder, and I think it's the ELA, and not because the ELA questions are like past college level. That's not the issue. The issue is it ties into how the questions are asked, including the answers. And again, this is what disambiguates all this from, say, the New York State test, or even some of the Regencies. The Regents is for later years. Some of you have taken the math Regents. The English Regents is grade 11 or something like that, or grade 10 or whatever. But even that's different. And so each test is designed to test you on different skills and different aspects. All right, so instead of me rambling here, let me just break down some things here. So actually, let me see if the stream is running. Yeah, it seems to be. All right, so the revising and editing part got added maybe 3 years ago. In fact, I think the 2017 year might be the first year it was added. I can't really remember. A lot of this stuff gets to be a blur. So revising and editing, we like to call it the grammar section, but it's split up into a couple of pieces. Actually, I did a YouTube on what to expect out of the ELA and what the topics list are and so on. If you subscribe to my thing and look through my videos, it's pretty much there. It's called ELA topic list or something like that. All right. So if you look through the topic list, you're going to see a lot of breakdown and stuff. And I believe at the beginning of that, I broke down how the ELA section is composed. So check that out. There's a whole bunch of tips in there as well. So what I want to focus on here is it says this whole first paragraph. The first part of the revising and editing section contains, because now it's 9 to 11 questions. It measures your ability to identify specific errors in language conventions, to select the correction for an error, or to improve the quality of the writing in sentences or paragraphs. Okay? And again, it says this is for the grade 8 part. It says it's being assessed against the Common Core in grade 7, which is basically everything you were supposed to have learned already, as well as all the skills. So this is a composite of everything you've learned up in school up until now, plus more. We know it's more than that. If it was that easy, everybody would be getting a top score. And by the way, nobody gets the top score on the SHSAT, even though they might on a state test. Again, because it's a different kind of a test. All right? So again, and by the way, you should look at the current handbook for this exact session and read it through so you understand what's being tested. Because even though they don't tell you everything that's being tested, kind of at least having an understanding of it is going to give you a leg up. Okay? So it says, again, you're going to be asked to address issues and conventions of language or punctuation. See, now they've added another thing in here. So identify the sentence with an error, select the best correction, and then improve the writing. So there's a couple levels to this. This is different than the reading comprehension. In the reading comprehension, you have to read a passage. Hey, Leo, how you doing? Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I caught you at the end of the other stream, and I started answering you, but I had disconnected OBS already. I normally disconnect YouTube first and then OBS. For some reason, I just clicked. Good to see you. Hopefully everything is going good. I think you said you were on a trip to Vermont. All right. So where was I on some of this here? Yeah, sorry. I know when I cough, guys, it explodes in your ears here, especially if you have a headset on. So normally, what you have in your standardized test, even the test you get at school, is you're going to read a passage and you're asked questions about it. And normally, it's about main idea and maybe the author's craft and maybe something specific about supporting the main idea. The SHSAT reading comprehension is different. And furthermore, the questions in things like the revising and editing section, they also are different. Not only do they ask about a specific sentence, but the ones that ask about a paragraph, they're different kind of questions. They're asking about the style, basically, and the grammar and the punctuation of the paragraph, whereas the reading comprehension ones aren't. So in the non-reading comprehension part, in some cases, you'd still have to understand the passage, but it's a different kind of understanding. And they're not going to ask you what's the main idea in the revising and editing part. You may still have to understand the main idea, but they're not going to ask you that. And that's a big difference. So whereas in the reading comprehension passages, you absolutely have to understand every single last detail. Or maybe I'm exaggerating the point, but you have to get it to that point. In this section, it's a different dynamic. It's a different thing you have to worry about. All right? So for instance, and by the way, some of you know that the SHSAT used to have scrambled paragraphs and things like that. And a lot of people couldn't see the point of that. I actually thought that was a good section to have in the SHSAT. And in the event that's gone, however, you're going to notice in some of the revising and editing sections, they're still going to ask you, which sentence doesn't belong? Which sentence was in the wrong place? Which sentence needs a transition leading into it? And stuff like that. So it's a different, it's a morphing of the kind of scrambled paragraph kind of questions, plus other ones. So whereas in the past, the example was totally focused on scrambled paragraphs. It's not just about scrambled paragraphs now, but it's still about how you're processing stuff and about being concise and precise and what detail is important and things like that. All right? So let me go back to the, so here we have a paragraph. So here's the first example. We're just going to jump into this and take our time and beat a lot of this stuff to death, because I want to make sure you guys are getting the essence of what some of this stuff is about. So let me just make sure this is coming on your screen and it's in the right place. Yeah, it is. Okay. In fact, let me move me out of the way, because I think at a certain point it's going to fall into the screen, and I don't want me blocking the thing. So in this passage, you're not being asked to read the passage just to comprehend it. There's an error in here. That's it. That's it. So focus on the error. So there's kind of two levels of this, okay? One level is try to find the error while you're reading it, okay? And then you're a leg up. You're a leg up. As you're reading it, try to find the error, okay? I normally like to tell kids, whoops, let me see here. When you're reading a passage, read the question first. But in this thing, it doesn't really help you. So you're going to look for a misplaced modifier. And the answer is just 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that's kind of unhelpful too. All right? So let me just read it. And if you guys, if I'm going too fast, if you're live, you're going to have to deal with this. Otherwise, you can pause, try to figure out the answer, and then see what I'm going to say. So I'm going to read aloud just to kind of pace it out. Established in 1946, the National Air and Space Museum, NASM, contained the most prominent collection of historical aircraft in the world. As one of the many museums and landmarks of the Smithsonian Institution, millions of people from around the world visit NASM each year. Over the years, NASM has undergone several renovations and major reconstructions to accommodate more visitors and exhibits. In addition to being a popular Washington, D.C. tourist destination, NASM is home to a research center for terrestrial and planetary science. So there's a bunch of words in there that you may not know what they mean. They're not asking you about that in this case, although it could relate to the question. So as you get more familiar with this kind of thing, some errors should leap out at you, or you should have kind of an error detector that goes beep, 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 beep as you're reading this kind of stuff, which is like, oh, they might ask me about this, okay? Because what's going to happen is a thing that comes up, and I'm going to mention this a couple times probably as we're going through all these problems, is that you guys might say, that sucks, I would never write it this way. That's right, you probably wouldn't, and that's why they're asking you some of the questions, okay? In the case where they ask, what is the best answer? You might still say I wouldn't write it, and that's still why they're asking you that. Okay, so I'm going to make this a running theme. I'm going to mention this more. If you're not quite grokking where I'm at by saying that, I'll keep mentioning it, but I don't want to dwell on it. So there's things like the word terrestrial, even planetary, some people may not know. And then there's this misplaced modifier bugger. Okay? And we have no help from the answers because it covers ABCD covers sentence 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's only 4 sentences. So if there was like 10 sentences, oh my God, at least I can rule out those other 6. But in this case, we have to deal with these 4. So a modifier is something that modifies something else. In this case, it could be a word. For instance, if I said like the greenhouse, green is an adjective that modifies the noun house. Okay? So if I put something awkward there, like a dog, well, a dog house works, but like an iPhone house, you would be like, that doesn't make sense, it's misplaced. So there's something misplaced here. And almost always when they're asking about a misplaced modifier, in the case of the SHSAT, they're not really talking about the adjective noun case. They're talking about a phrase. A whole phrase, there's something wrong with it, okay? So we're going to just go through each case. So established in 1946, the NASM contained the most prominent collection of historical aircraft in the world. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? Modifier is established in 1946. It's modifying the National Air and Space Museum because it's qualifying it. It's giving it characteristics. Okay? So is the other part where it's the most prominent collection of aircraft in the world there. But we're talking about what about the modifier? So established in 1946, a modifier. It's a phrase. Especially you can tell because there's a comma after it. Okay? So does that sentence make sense? It does. I'm telling you guys now it does. Okay? Okay. The second sentence. As one of the many museums and landmarks of the Smithsonian, millions of people from around the world visit NASM each year. Okay, is that good? Many of you are going to say it is. Okay, what's the modifier? The modifier is that whole thing up to the comma. As one of the many museums and landmarks of the Smithsonian Institution. So we just talked about how in the previous example, the 1946 establishment modified and gave a characteristic to the NASM. So does that first phrase modify and give characteristics to millions of people? It says, as one of the many museums and landmarks of the Smithsonian, does that apply to millions of people from around the world? That's the phrase that is modifying. That whole thing up to the comma is modifying the millions of people from around the world. Is that what it's supposed to be modifying? Or is it supposed to be modifying NASM? I think it's supposed to be modifying that NASM. All right? So the wrong answer seems to be 2, or B in this case. All right? So what I like to do is I still like to look through the other choices. So 3, over the years, NASM has undergone several renovations and major reconstructions to accommodate more visitors and exhibits. Yeah, that works. Over the years, what? What or who? NASM did it. Okay? And in some cases, we can actually flip the sentence. So if you take that over the years phrase and put it at the end of sentence number 3, we have a full sentence. NASM has undergone several renovations and major reconstructions to accommodate more visitors and exhibits over the years. That works too. So sometimes you can flip the clause there, the prepositional phrase, the modifier, and put it at the end. In some cases you can. For instance, if you go to sentence 1, we can't really put established in 1946 at the end without extra words. We could say something like the National Air and Space Museum contains the most prominent collections and historical aircraft in the world, and it was established in 1946. So if we can do something like that, then it makes sense. But what's the it we're talking about? The it is NASM, okay? So 3 is okay, especially because we can flip it and it actually does make sense. Okay, 4. In addition to being a popular Washington, D.C. tourist destination, NASM is home to a research for terrestrial and planetary science. That works. So it says, in addition to being a tourist destination, NASM, that's applying to NASM, so it works. So we're confirming that sentence number 2 is misappropriating the placement of the modifier. It's misplacing it. And again, we could do something like millions of people from around the world visit NASM, which is many of the museums and landmarks of the Smithsonian each year. And there's a couple of forms of this. I'm not even saying that's the best form of it. So we can see that the answer is 2 there. All right, so the modifier, this thing here, is usually intended to modify the subject right after it. The subject is the millions of people from around the world. So I'm focusing on this and spending extra time on this right now because this is a classic problem that will be presented to you guys, the misplaced modifier thing, even if they don't use the term. And I don't want to get too bogged down in terminology here, even though you guys should know what it means. So another way to look at this is, instead of it saying which sentence should be revised to correct the misplaced modifier, it can say which sentence should be revised, or which sentence should best be revised. They could have ignored the term themselves in the question. But in this case, they're cluing you in on it. So let's say there was another sentence here, sentence number 4, that totally sucked. That really totally sucked. But it didn't have a misplaced modifier. Okay? Maybe it had a spelling error. Okay? You can't put E for questions because they're asking specifically about a misplaced modifier. All right? So that's why it's the best answer, even though you could say, well, I could still figure out too. Well, yeah, but we're not talking about slang here. We're talking about formal reading and writing and stuff like that. That's what this is about. It has to follow some rules. And again, you have to, so the best answer is going to be B. In fact, it clearly is B because it's the only misplaced modifier here. It's not even the best one. All right? All right, so let me go make sure we're still going live. Yeah, we're still going live. If anybody has any questions about this, I feel there's a few live people out there. Please ask. Please ask. And if you're too shy, you can certainly email me, and maybe we can do more specific topics about it. And by the way, we're already 20 minutes into this, and this is why this takes long. And so we have boring passages on top of boring discussions about it. But this is a part where I like to focus on the math because it's more snippety, more snippets that are focused on specific math stuff. But the truth of the matter is the ELAs too, but it has a different part of your brain is being used to try to tackle it, and it becomes harder for some reason for everybody. And it's easy to talk about misplaced modifiers, but that's different than talking about, say, exponents. Because if I have a base to an exponent, you can kind of just zero in and identify that right away. But if I have a paragraph thrown at you, even if I had an exponent written in a paragraph, you can say, there it is, it's right there. But if there's a misplaced modifier in a paragraph, you have to read that whole sucker and figure it out. So this gets more tedious and drawn out, and it's kind of hunt and pecky more, okay? Any event, if you have questions, feel free to email me. That's what I'm trying to help you guys. I'm a tutor. I get paid well. By the way, my name is Greg. I'm from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. I do private tutoring. I do tutoring groups. I'm not here online to do that right now. I'm here to just review stuff and help people and give people a leg up. I can put on different hats. I do a lot of different things in my life, volunteering and different things. So let's go for it. I think a lot of people like to mischaracterize who I am or what I'm doing, and they don't know me. And it's kind of say, all right, I'm rambling again. So let's go and try to tackle now the next question. Let me see what this is. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now the previous was basically about a paragraph. The revising and editing section also has it just about sentences. So we're going to deal with this sentence. So since college admissions are highly competitive, many students began planning for the admissions process while they attend middle school rather than waiting until they enter high school. So let me say the SHSAT doesn't work this way anymore. At least it didn't in the past. The last year, and it's not, according to the description, it's not going to work this way this year. On this thing, they gave only one choice for a revising thing. Now the SHSAT presents 2 editing choices per answer. So, for instance, now the SHSAT might combine A and B, assuming it would end up being the right answer. In this form of the SHSAT was only asking about one thing. In the new form, you actually get a second chance, because if it's asking about 2 revising and editing changes, one is almost always okay and the other is wrong, and in all the other cases. So if you're not sure, you have a way to rule some stuff out. Okay, so the new form to me is a little better and a little harder at the same time. So this is also a little better and a little harder at the same time, because we're only getting one shot. So which edit, if you were proofreading this, right, if you had this sentence, which edit should be made to correct the sentence? Okay, so it's telling you there's an error in the sentence. And that's what example 2 up here says. Select the best correction for an error. Okay, so since college admissions are highly competitive, well, I don't even need to reread it because it's giving us choices. So A is change R to will be. Where is R? So that's there. So since college admissions will be highly competitive, many students began planning for the admissions process while they attend middle school rather than while waiting until the high school. Well, college admissions, they're saying that they are competitive. They are now that they're going to be, Because if they're going to be, the kind of the rest of the sentence doesn't make sense. So A seems to be ruled out. And again, we're looking for the best answer here. A seems to be ruled out. Let me just see here. Okay, B, began. So we're going to leave R as it is. So since college admissions are highly competitive, many students began planning for admissions for the admissions process while they attended. Well, began is in the past, and it's talking about something occurring now. So that doesn't seem like the correct correction. So we got B here so far. Okay, change attend. I mean, sorry, that does seem like the correct correction because began's in the past, and it's talking about something. Since college admissions right now are highly competitive, many students right now are planning for admissions while they right now attend high school rather than waiting until they later on attend high school. Okay? So I like that little thing that I do where I put right now. That can be used to kind of distinguish tenses because you can also do it for the past and the future. If you change everything to will be or had or something like that and make sure that all flows consistently, you can kick out tense errors that way sometimes. So it's kind of a double check mechanism. Okay, attend. To had attended. Since college admissions are highly competitive, many students began planning for the admissions process while they attended middle school. No, it's talking about now. It's not talking about in the past. Okay? And by the way, the began can throw off that. So that's why, if it's attended, then the began's good. But it's talking about the are, and then waiting until they attend high school. So they are still in middle school. We know they're still in middle school. So it's not that they attended middle school. And it's not talking about they took a gap year or something like that. So it's not C. And then change enter to entered. Where is enter? Okay, here. Okay, since they're going to attend high school in the future, it's still going to happen. So for the same reasons just talked about, they can't wait until they entered high school. It's something talking about college admissions are highly competitive now. Okay? So the answer is B here. Okay, let me go to the stream. Everybody doing okay? Yeah, right. Past tense going on or whatever. Okay. Now, example 3 kind of gets back into the scramble paragraph mode of things. So we have 3 sentences. It says improve the writing by combining sentences or revising part of a sentence. So what they're going to do is combine these 3 sentences in some manner. And one form ends up being the best. So again, it just says improve it for some definition of improve. They don't define what an improvement is. So we have to assume out of whatever the choices are, it's going to be the best one. So we have monarch butterflies are common in the U.S. Cool. Great. Monarch butterflies are recognizable by the orange and black wings. Cool. Great. Monarch butterflies travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall. Cool. Great. So we have 3 sentences connected by monarch butterflies. And some of you may think that's monarch. It's monarch. Okay? That doesn't matter. It's just some kind of butterfly. It's seen in the U.S. It's orange and black wings, and they migrate. That's basically the 3 things here. Try to pull out of these sentences what the important aspects are. And by the way, when you do the reading comprehension part for the main idea, you're trying to grasp the same thing. You're trying to present the shortest synopsis of something without being wrong, but not being concise enough or precise enough. Okay? Or actually, you're going to be concise enough, but you're not going to be precise enough. So we're going to grok that monarch butterflies are common. They have orange and black wings, and they migrate, especially in the warmer climate time. Okay, which is the best way to combine these sentences? So again, these choices get us into the notion of bestness again. So it's not that all these are wrong, right? The previous one told us to fix an error. So it may be that A, B, C, or D has an error, but it may be that they don't. And it's just one, which is the best? Which is the best way to do this? Which is the least awkward? In a lot of cases, that's what you're looking for. Which to your ear, and you're not allowed to talk aloud during the test, but which to your ear sounds the worst? And what sounds the best? And some of them are awkward, okay? So in addition to that, what you also want to do is, when you combine the three sentences, at least in this example, you don't want to throw away information, and you don't want to change any information so strongly that you kind of modified something. Like, you don't want to add to 2 that the body of the butterfly is blue or something like that. Let's say you added that. Was not mentioned originally. And you may know stuff about monarch butterflies, but you can't add it in. You can't add it into here as well. A classic example I had to give is like if you know a lot about the history of the Yankees, going back to Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, all this kind of stuff like that, and the passage is about old-time players, and they don't mention Babe Ruth, you can't introduce that. You can only answer about what you're being told. Now, that said, some of the stuff might deal with precision, where the original thing was vague. Then you can add clarifications in. But so far, this question is not about that. So somehow it's going to combine the 3 notions here into some super version. That's not a run-on sentence, that's not awkward, that doesn't have a misplaced modifier, that doesn't have too many commas, that doesn't have punctuation problems, stuff like that, okay? All right, so let's go for it. Which is the best way to combine these sentences? Because they are common in the United States, monarch butterflies are recognizable by their orange or black wings and travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall. Okay, what it's saying is that because they are common in the United States, the whole rest of that is true. Monarch butterflies are recognizable by their orange or black wings because they are common in the United States. Monarch butterflies travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall because they are common in the United States. No, that's taking one of the sentences, right? There were 3 characteristics of monarch butterflies. And it's taking one of those characteristics that they showed us and making it the reason for the other 2. And there might be scenarios where that's the case or true, but it's not here. So even though you might read A and it doesn't really slap you in the face as being wrong, it is. Okay, so it's not A. B says, by traveling thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall and being common in the United States, monarch butterflies are recognizable by their orange and black wings. Certainly B is better than A. To me, it just reads awkward. And I don't like the by thing. So again, we can take that phrase, and by the way, the phrase goes up to the comma, and that's the problem. And I said before, you can, in some cases, you can flip the phrase and put it afterwards. So if we did monarch butterflies are recognizable by their orange or black wings by traveling thousands of miles when they migrate, it's just like, no, that ain't it, bro. That ain't it, okay? So, and even if we add a comma right here after the word fall, it's still not it. It's still not combining it properly. So, yep, it's asking for the best way. So, so far, B is definitely better than A, but to be honest with it, they both suck. Okay, although they are common in the United States, monarch butterflies, which are recognizable by their orange or black wings, travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall. Okay, some of you may not like that this comma monarch butterflies comma here. And certainly C is better than A or B. So far C is the winner to me. So although they are common in the US, monarch butterflies, so that does apply to monarch butterflies. which are recognizable by their orange or black wings. So monarch butterflies are recognizable by their antidote. And monarch butterflies travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall. So it seems like grammatically, I don't know that there's an error here, but I think semantically, which means the meaning, there's a meaning goof up here, which is that they're just trying to pack the phrases together without trying to make them cohesive and sensible. So even though C is definitely the winner so far, it's not even awkward. There's just something wrong with it semantically in its meaning. Okay? It's almost like they threw out like black, red, green, and you were like, okay, what about them? All right. So even though they're trying to, it's about monarch butterflies, and again, we're assuming. Actually, okay. I'm gonna not say that phrase. So C is the winner so far. D, monarch butterflies, common in the U.S. and recognizable by their orange-black wings, comma, travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates in the fall. Oh my God, that sounds like it. So let's take the three aspects. Monarch butterflies common in the U.S., right. Monarch butterflies recognizable by the orange and black wings, right. And monarch butterflies travel thousands of miles when they migrate to warmer climates. Boom, we got it, okay? So by the way, you can see, even if you were queasy about maybe whether A, B, or C was better, when you get to D, it's like wham, boom, that baby's it, right? That has to be it. All right, so let me see if I put my foot in my mouth. Okay, no. Okay, you know what leaps out at me here? Is this clearly and concisely? Right? We talked about A and B having certain problems, and C was like, it's kind of there, but there's something semantically down there. There was no conciseness in that. It was too rambling about. And D gets right to the point. Boom, it's this. Boom, it's that. Boom, it's that. Okay? So we have some, and it's clearly stated. There's nothing where you're going to go like, ooh, that sounds kind of awkward or whatever. It's just laid out there. And again, you might be able to combine these three sentences better than D. They're not asking you to do that. They're asking you out of these four forms, whether they suck or not. Which is the least suckiest? Okay? Which is the least suckiest? Because you might say, well, maybe the best way to combine these three things is to write it in two sentences. That might be so, but that's not what the question is. So you only need to work with what they give you, and you need to just focus here. Let's see what else they see here. And it, by the way, it does say that option D is combining these into one complex sentence. So they're giving to you that this is going to be complicated at some point. So again, they're laying out kind of what I said at the end here. That says what a monarch butterfly is, and then things about it. Okay? All right, so let me go back to the stream here. I'm still seeing a few viewers and nobody wants to say nothing. Please ask questions. I know some of this is hard. I tutor students one-on-one. I get a whole bunch of emails. Okay, so now there's a second section, which is going to give you a passage in the revising and editing section. And they're looking to improve the overall quality of the writing. Okay, so they're giving you stuff like each passage 350 words. It could be argumentative or informative. I believe they expanded this part now to other stuff. So an argument presents a claim offering supportive evidence. Okay, and an informative passage is topic and explains supporting details. Okay, and this historical, current events, people, places, technology, phenomenon, biological, physical science, or social sciences. Just consider it going anywhere. It doesn't really matter. And then we have this here. Passages may contain errors in language usage, missing or extraneous supporting details, missing or inappropriate transitions. So now it's going to go maybe beyond grammar. And by the way, the others did too, because we were talking about sequencing problems and stuff like that too as well. A missing or unclear introductory statement. So there might be a missing sentence, like a gap sentence, or there might be a missing transition, a prepositional phrase, like therefore, or something like that, okay? The passage may also kind of not really end. There's a missing part at the very end. And then it says, or other errors typical in student writing. Gee, thanks. All right. So again, this is why when I'm asked, what are the topics? This is why it's a hard question to answer rather, because you don't know. So as long as that's any typical thing, even if I told you, like, they're definitely going to ask you about commas, and by the way, they're definitely going to ask you about commas. The problem is there's 30, 40, 50 grammatical comma situations. They're obviously not going to ask you about 30, 40, 50 of them. There's not even enough questions. The question is, which out of those 30, 40, 50 comma rules are they going to ask you? Well, maybe 10 will bubble up. And maybe out of the 10, let's even go with 5. Let's say out of the 30 or whatever comma rules there are, 5 are going to bubble up. They're probably not going to ask you all 5. So which one? I don't know which one. All right? And the choice is maybe trying to study for them all. All right, so they're telling you to read the passage over here. You definitely need to read the passage, but you're trying to grok for different things. So as we know, they're not going to just strictly ask you grammatical things. So if something's in the wrong order or something like that, you definitely have had to understand it, but it's a different level of understanding to do the revising and editing. And I don't want to say that too strong because you still need to understand it. Don't, as it says, don't skim the passage. You still need to read it. And by the way, there's a difference here where it's the reading comprehension part. You're supposed to be giving passages that are all intact. The deepest they come to asking you about the paragraph itself in terms of word form and stuff like that is some of the vocabulary. So in this section, they're going to ask you for the word forms. That's what this section's about, or sentence forms or stuff like that. So a heads up for this section is that when you're reading it, if something leaps out at you as being wrong, circle it or something like that. So that you know, oh, they're probably going to ask me about this. Okay? In fact, that's what this says here. So as you read, look for illogical stuff, extraneous stuff, redundant stuff, and precise stuff, informal stuff, or difficult to read stuff. Just sometimes you have to go with your gut too, like damn, that's ugly, damn, that's stupid. Why is this here? So as you're reading it, and it says the more likely questions that you correct and improve in those sentences. And by the way, this is a case where sometimes they're asking you, they're even forcing you to go back and forth to the thing. All right, so here's where we have a problem with presenting this in YouTube. Let me just make sure this got on you guys' screen, which is that now the whole passage is on the screen, and we have to somehow view the questions. So we need to go back and forth somehow. So if you're watching this live, you just have to kind of deal with this. And I guess I should read this aloud. Not sure. Or maybe just give 5 minutes of silence or something. If you're catching this on a replay, you can certainly set up a second YouTube where you go to this point and freeze frame it, and then continue on with the other one, or split 2 tabs. And obviously, if you have 2 screens on your computer, you can put the passage on one screen, look at the questions on the other. Anyway, you can also do a grab screen. You can go grab screen and maybe print that page out, so that when we get to the questions, it's making more sense. All right. And by the way, we're probably going to stop after the example. We're already 45 minutes into this, and this is probably going to take at least 15 more minutes. I can't remember what's after this, so let's just worry about that when we get there. All right, so where am I? All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this to myself, and then we're going to go back into some of this. By the way, as you're reading the passages, try to start forming, you still need to focus on the main idea and what's going on. Because especially if they ask you a sequencing error. Like question number 2 may belong after question number 6 or something like that. Sorry, sentence number 2 might be in the wrong place. So you're still trying to find, and that's what it's going to make the main idea of some of these kind of passages hard, because they might throw a sentence in that isn't supposed to belong there. In fact, in some cases, they may ask you to delete the sentence, which is the best sentence that doesn't really belong. So don't get thrown by those questions, and if it's those sentences, and if you see sentences that, put a question mark alongside of them, so it doesn't disrupt your thought process. Okay. Okay, I'm going to finish reading. All right, I printed out the questions on another page so I can actually flip back and forth here. Because not only do I have to flip back and forth with what you guys are saying, I have to flip back and forth between the YouTube screen and so on. So let me make sure I actually printed out the questions. Which sentence would follow 6? Yeah, okay, I have the right questions. All right, so now they get really specific. Which sentence would best follow 6? So let me highlight 6 here. So this is funny because we still need to comprehend the whole passage to figure that out. But by virtue of them asking about what's going to happen after 6, they're making it contextual. They're making it very contextual. So they're zeroing this in specifically what sentence goes between 6 and 7. So let me read it aloud so it's on our minds. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees separation of church and state, which makes the discussion of religion in public schools seem problematic in some school districts and and to some school districts and to some teachers as well. So what do we have here? The First Amendment says church and state are different, which conceptually means that you should not be being taught specific religions, at least, and that the church doesn't run our government as it does in other countries, okay? Which makes the discussion seem problematic. Not that it is problematic, it might seem problematic to some school districts and to some teachers. So we have on the one hand the First Amendment's allowing the thing to happen. On the other hand, people are not sure what it means, I guess, is what's happening here. So let's look at the choices. So which sentence here supports the notion I just said? That's the argument. The argument is that it's there, but people think that it might say that you're not allowed to do religious discussion in school. And they laid out that the religious discussion is giving you a survey of religions. It's not telling you to be religious and stuff like that. So 1. And again, this is funny because they don't boldface the word best, but we're still looking for best. Unless they say otherwise, even if they leave out the word best, we're still always looking for the best answer here. And again, you might say, all these choices suck. Well, which is the least suckiest is what we're still looking for here, people, all right? So which sentence would best follow sentence 6 to support the argument presented in the passage? A, some educators avoid the topic altogether. Yeah, it told us that. And as a result, many students are not studying the founding ideas of culture and society. I don't really like the way that's phrased, but I guess the connection is many students are not studying it because some educators are avoiding the topic altogether. And that's what the as a result says. Okay, so I buy A. So far, A is the best form. I may not have written it this way myself, but actually the more I think of it, the more I like it, okay? B, many teachers are worried about the risk of introducing ideas or concepts that may lead to controversy. If you go back to sentence 6, it's not highlighted anymore. That's not what it says. That's not exactly what it says their worry is. We can do that inference. We can make that inference to be, but it's not quite what 6 says. Okay, let's go back to B here. Can we get them both on the same screen? That might be too tiny, so I don't want to go there. So it does say that it seems problematic to some teachers, but we don't have the reason why, for instance, per se. So although I'm not saying B is just completely wrong, but it seems to be compared to A that A is winning. Okay, schools tend to spend more resources teaching math and physical sciences than teaching the humanities. That might be true, and it also might be true that the reason why is because of the First Amendment rule. But this is a giant leap here. This is a super giant leap, and this is even beyond an inference. It's just hyperbole, right? Hyperbole. It's just really taken such a giant leap as in the ether. Okay, so it's not C. All right, and D says, in order to protect students' personal beliefs, many teachers think that they should teach only limited ideas about world religions. That's not what the passage is about, and that's not what sentence 6 is about. So although D might be true universally through the world, it's not what this passage was presenting. Go back to the question over here. You have to use these words, presented in the passage. Okay, and they don't even need to say that because they're talking about the passage. But D never comes into play here, whether it's true or not. And D is, you could even argue, well, it's all connected, yada yada. Yeah, but D is not even, like C was making a leap. D is not even making a leap. It's just in left field. It's just out there. Okay, so the answer was A. Okay, so you have to do this analysis. So remember, the SHSAT's 3 hours long, and if you kind of break things down by averages, you have about a minute and a half to answer every question. And that includes reading the passages on the ELA side. So technically, you have less than a minute and a half to do the ELA questions if we were to so-called average everything out. And the thing about the SHSAT is all these freaking long answers that are ugly themselves, right? So as you get more experience and used to this, you're going to find that you get more experience and used to it. That a lot of these kind of questions leap out. Some patterns start leaping out, and this is where people after, oh, you're gaming the system. Oh, you what? Oh, no, you're not. This test is hard enough that you should be aware of what's on it, because not being aware is unfair. It tells you that it's about grade 7 and grade 8, and it's not. Yes, that's the underlying issues and the underlying topics and so on, but you're never taught anything like this in grade 7 and grade 8. So please don't go there. Please don't tell me I'm teaching to the test. Please don't tell me a student learning this is gaming the system. This is just as valid and just as important cognitively about understanding something, especially since this is about revising and editing. This is just as important as knowing where a comma goes. So anybody giving that argument is just totally out there, totally ridiculous, doesn't know what they're talking about. And I'll fight that to my death. Okay, all right, I'm getting carried away. All right. Okay, so B. So B uses terminology. Which transition should be added to the beginning of sentence 11? So let's find 11. Remember, sometimes it is contextual. So, whoops. So you may have to go back a sentence or two, or even a sentence forward or so on. So the sentence is, the beliefs, the benefits of this knowledge extend beyond the classroom. Of which knowledge? So let's go back to 10. The politics, economics, and laws of countries are often a byproduct of religious ideas, and literary and cultural references are better understood through the context of religion. And 9 said an understanding of different world religions enriches students' education in several ways. So the benefit of this knowledge of the different religions extends beyond the classroom. So they're telling us in 11 that something is missing there. Where is 11 again? So what we want to do is just replace, or in this case, we're not replacing the word, we're adding a word in the beginning. So a transition, I'm not gonna highlight the word transition, is a lead-in word. Okay, enough of you know how to like edit videos now. When you have one scene leading into another scene, sometimes you might have like it zips across the screen, or maybe a bad example of this is when Star Wars like that makes a dot out of the screen or something like that, or Star Wars has ridiculous transitions from scene to scene, and I think it's done to be comical or something, or just whatever. So we have the same thing here grammatically, like when we're moving from one sentence or even paragraph to paragraph or whatever, or even sometimes from phrase to phrase. What's the best kind of movement word? Which word or phrase will bring us into the next thing the best way? Okay, so that's what a transition is. So for which transition should be added to the beginning of sentence 11? So we're kind of just going to do a text substitution. So for that reason, the benefits of this knowledge extend beyond the classroom. That kind of works. It's not saying that's the reason. It's kind of just saying it happens. So far, A is the best. I'm not saying A could be totally wrong, but it's awkward. Okay, so B, in contrast. So B says, in contrast, the benefits of this knowledge extend beyond the classroom. In contrast means in the opposite, to dispute it. Well, this is concurring with it. So it's not contrast. It's definitely not contrast. So contrast is the opposite of what's trying to be done here. So it's not B. So far A is ruling. Of course. I don't like of course in a lot of phrasing anyway, because sometimes of course is redundant. So if it said of course the benefits of the knowledge extend beyond the classroom, I think it would be redundant in this case. So when you use of course, be judicious about it. Be judicious about all of them. But with this common words we like to use like very or pretty or extremely or awesome or all these, there's a lot of words that we throw out that we just use slangish that are just kind of wrong formally, all right? So it's not that. And then we have moreover. Moreover, the benefits of this knowledge extend beyond the classroom. Sure, I like moreover better than for that reason. Moreover is more like therefore, like we have these kind of sentence 9 and 10, and also, by the way, the benefits go beyond the classroom, all right? Because it's talking about, which leads into, so sentence 11, the whole sentence 11 is itself a transition into sentence 12. So the last paragraph is talking about what's the premise, what's the reason, why are we, even though there's separation of church and state, why is it important to discuss religion in the classroom, all right? Not to be religious, just to do a survey of religions and what their premises are and stuff like that. So moreover works. That was the word, right? Where is it? Moreover. So moreover is more colloquial, and a lot of you don't use it in your writing. I use it a lot personally, to be honest with you. I like to use nevertheless and stuff like that too, just because I think it hits home sometimes what you're trying to say. I'm not trying to be exquisite or elitist or something like that, but it's just one of those words that rubs me the right way. So the answer is D here, or H, should I say? Okay, it's H. Let me go back and see that we're still live. Yeah, yeah, we're still live. Okay. Where's my test questions? Okay, which revision of sentence 12, so where's 12? 12 is here. Which revision of sentence 12 uses the most precise language? So precise language is actually a technical term. Yes, it's a common English phrase. And if Leo, you're still out there, I believe you asked me in another stream what precise meant. So what they're trying to look for here is words that say what was written better. And that's a weak definition, but which words say it more exactly without changing the meaning of it, okay? So which is precise, which really meant to say something, and it didn't. So when you read sentence number 12, it should have leaped out at you. Because let's read sentence 12. Students who get world religions do better than when they start working with people who come from different backgrounds. Students who get world religions? What do they mean, get world religions? That's sloppy, right? So just by itself, what can be more precise? Students who understand world religions is better than get. Or students who were educated in world religions do better when they start working with people who come from different backgrounds. And even that second part of the phrase can probably be made more precise. Okay, what does it mean to start working with? Do they mean a business thing, or just as a colleague, or what? Okay, so that sentence was a weak sentence. If you wrote it yourself, it's sloppy. Certainly the get is definitely sloppy. And if that's the only revision they have, it's certainly better. Okay, so again, we're going to look at the revisions and see which one is better than students who get world religions do better when they start working with people who come from different backgrounds. Okay, where are we? Okay, A, students who are clued into world religions are likely to get along better with people they work with who are from different places. That's just as bad. So they fixed the got or get, and they still put it in on the thing. So in other words, that they're likely to get along better. There's a better word than that. They're a colleague. They're a buddy. They're whatever. So A fixes one thing and doesn't fix another. Okay, B. Students who know about world religions are likely to understand more about doing business with new people. No, B sucks. Okay? And it's not just about knowing more. Exactly how do they know more? And understand more about doing business with new people? What the hell is new people? All right? So that's just as bad, if not worse, than the original. C. Students who understand world religions, and I think that was one of the words I used when I gave my example before. Students who understand world religions are better equipped. Ooh. So that's better than, say, more likely or get better along, right? They're better equipped. That's a nice, precise word. To work with diverse colleagues. Oh, that's better than new people or people from different backgrounds. I just got a text. I have to go in a second. I believe this might be the last question. No, it's not. Yuck. Okay, so, well, let me get through this. Students who understand religions are better equipped to work with diverse colleagues and customers from around the world. That is freaking beautiful. I'm going to cry. Okay? That's freaking beautiful. Okay? So C wins for sure. Okay, D. D might even be better. Students who are familiar with world religions may be more aware of how to do business with acquaintances from other countries. All right, so D is better than A and B for sure. But like I said, I just have tears running down my face for C. Diverse colleagues, customers from around the world, and they understand world religions. Okay? D says they're just familiar with it. They're not trying to talk about just necessarily familiarity. Although I do like acquaintances from other countries. It also just says they're more aware of how to do business. So the more I look at D, the more I'm starting to hate it. C rules, brothers and sisters. Okay? C freaking rules. It's precise as hell. It's very conclusive. Nothing's being left to being vague. Okay? And that's what they're trying to ask for. They're going to ask precise questions. And when they do, they're going to use the word precise. Okay? And again, this is something you rarely see in the New York State test. Okay? Okay, D. Which sentence is irrelevant to the argument presented in the passage and should be deleted? Okay, so for now, hopefully, it might be best for you guys to stop the stream if you're not live, reread the whole passage again, just so you can get this. Or if you're on board, let's do this, because this is going to be super awkward bouncing back and forth on the stream. So, which sentence is relevant to the argument presented in the passage and should be deleted? So let's go to sentence 2. Okay, in sentence 2, it says, according to the whatever knowledge about religions is a characteristic of an educated person, and whatever. And then 2 says, in support of this idea. And sentence 1 is a main thing about what the passage is about. So 2 shouldn't be deleted. And if it says in support of the idea, the sky is blue, then that's ridiculous. But that's not what it says. Okay? It's actually literally supporting what 1 says. So 2 is good. 2 is good. That bugger should go. Okay, sentence 7. Where's 7? Okay, that's sentence 7. So let's try to get the context. So some schools and teachers are hesitant to educate students about world religions. The First Amendment to the United States guarantees the separation of church and state, which makes the discussion of religion in public schools seem problematic to some districts and teachers. The First Amendment also states that the government cannot obstruct religious freedom in the United States. Okay, that's not what this passage is about. The passage is about sentence 6, for sure. Now, if there were 2 sub-main ideas that the passage was relating, yes, then sentence 7 belongs. But they throw out sentence 7 about the religious freedom aspect, which is related to the separation of church and state, by the way. But they never beat it to death any further. So to me, so far, 7 is the wrong answer. 7 is the right answer. 7 is the wrong sentence. Sentence number 10. Where is 10? Okay, an understanding of different religions enriches a student's education in several ways. The politics, economics, and laws of countries are often a byproduct of religious ideas. What I just do, and literary and cultural references are better understood through the context of religion. That's what the title of the paragraph is about, and that's what the whole paragraph is about. So it's not there. By the way, let me go through a couple of things pertaining to main idea. So the main idea of the paragraph is about studying religions. And we can often grok the main idea a couple ways. First of all, look at the title. It says studying religions. So that is what this passage is about. Often we need to look at the illustrations. There's none in this one. So we have no supporting illustrations. A third way is to look at the first sentence of a passage. And often it tells you what the main idea is. If not, look at the whole first paragraph. Okay? And often in a passage, you have to look at the last sentence of a passage, or in the worst case, the last paragraph. Now, sometimes authors have different motivations, and sometimes authors are sloppy and stuff like that too. But in this case, for sure, these all conspire together. The title, the first sentence, the first paragraph, the last sentence, the last paragraph. Okay? All these kind of things, they're all conspiring together with the same message. So that's what the main idea is about. So does 10 support that? Hell yeah. Of course 10 supports that. So far we have, I think it was 7. It was not good. In sentence number 13. Where's 13? Oops. Okay, so here's 13. They can appreciate the traditions and values of their neighbors and co-workers and can form educated opinions regarding current events and world issues. Okay, this one is in the flow, but is it in direct support? Let's go back to the question. Which sentence is irrelevant to the argument? So out of the good sentences that were given here, like sentence, again, 7 is out there. But out of 2 and 10, 13 is kind of a sub-support sentence. So it's the weakest one, but it's still dealing with, it's relevant to the argument presented in the passage. It's still relevant. It's backing up 11, right? 13 is backing up 11 and 12, which is what the whole paragraph is about. So 13 might be the weakest out of the other 2 ones that were valid, but so in conclusion, 7 sucks. 7 doesn't belong there. Now 7 might be important, but that's not what they're asking in this question, which is irrelevant to what's being discussed. So you could argue it's that important, it shouldn't be deleted. It's not what the hell the thing is about. And if it was that important, then maybe you should spin it off into its own paragraph, okay? So there's a couple of ways to counteract that it's 7. So 4 actually ends up being kind of a hard problem. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to end here, guys. I have to go. I didn't think we are going to last this long, actually. And I'm just going to continue this on as makes sense. I might hunt and pick through this based on your guys' messages to me and so on, because this is going to be a long multi-part series if that's the way it ends up being. And in the event, everybody have a good weekend. Hopefully everybody's chilling out just before school starts. What does school start on Thursday? Some schools like Success Academy and so on already started. Boo-hiss. But learning's fun, and the SHSAT we have is coming up, guys. It's coming up. All right, please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. There's a whole bunch more coming, baby. All right, have a great day, everybody.